everyone, and welcome back to another video. Season 2 of Battle for Azeroth kicks off on the 22nd of January for the US and the 23rd for the EU. Quite a lot is going to happen, including the new raid, the revamped Azerite, the updating of the Titan Residual rewards and the costs, and of course, being World of Warcraft, there's a fair bit that you can do in preparation just to make that launch a little bit more smooth for you. So today I'm going to be covering everything that you need to know about Season 2 of BFA, and we're going to start off with the Battle of dazar'alor raid. So, this is a fairly non-standard raid with a layout that has, I think, quite reasonably led to a bit of confusion. So, I'm going to start by breaking down how this dual faction storyline actually works. So narratively, Alliance players are attacking their way from up the docks while the Horde are fighting off a jungle-based sort of diversion assault. And then they want to, meet the Alliance forces in the city before pushing them back and driving them out. But of course, with key losses happening on both sides. So, in order to show this story, while still having identical fights and near identical structure, Blizzard are using a few techniques, including factions having some reskin versions of the same boss, and then also the utilization of flashback sequences, where you will play the role of the other faction's players, all narratively lampshaded by it being through your own side's troops telling you what happened in the fight. So, all players start off by fighting the Champion of Light, which is just a notable paladin type character from the other faction. Now, while all the bosses have different names, the encounters are the same with this one. With that boss defeated, the Alliance then go on to fight the Jadefire Masters, but the Horde go on to fight Grong. Once this happens, Bomsamdi will raise up Grong, who is the third Alliance boss, while the Horde then go and fight the Alliance-themed version of the Jadefire Masters. Basically, boss 2 and 3 are fought in a different order by each faction. After this point, it's the Alliance point of view section of the raid. Alliance players will fight through this as per normal, making their way through the Treasure Guardian, the Conclave of the Chosen, and King Rastakhan. Now, at this point, Horde players will meet friendly NPCs and will essentially receive news of what happened with the Alliance attack. Through this NPC, Horde players will then play through the Alliance-only section of the raid. Their characters will be race-changed over, including their racial abilities. So once that section is done, the Horde-focused section begins, and that follows the Horde's attempt to kick out the Alliance, fighting Mechatork, the Stormwall, Blockade, and then Jaina, and they're the three final bosses of the raid. In this case, Alliance players will play through these as a flashback-styled sequence. Overall, it's about as smooth as they could possibly do it, telling a unique story for each faction while still having the raid structure be the same for both sides. Overall, pretty impressive effort. So, that's how the raid works. Don't worry, you'll get used to it pretty damn quickly, so let's talk about unlocks. Normal and Heroic mode will unlock on the 22nd of January, LFR Wing 1 and Mythic on the 29th of January, LFR Wing 2 on the 12th of February, and Wing 3 on the 26th of February. Now, many are wondering what this means for the Xantalari Trolls and the Kulturian Humans as allied races. Well, the quests for that will likely kick off after the final wing opens on LFR, but there's a decent chance you'll need to wait for patch 8.1.5 to be released, which, being realistic, is probably not too far off. So, with the raid explained, let's talk about making preparations and how to make the best use of the various game systems to your advantage. First, AP. So AP is still going to be an important part of this season, because the Season 2 Azerite gear does still require Heart of Azeroth levels for its trait unlocks. Now, the only difference is that the Season 2 Azerite gear has an extra outer ring that will give you 2 choices of trait for each spec out of the new trait pool. Okay, so let's work out what your HOA power goals might actually be. Now, bear in mind that most of the power is contained within the outermost and second outermost rings, so they are the most important ones. So the LFR dazar'alor gear drops at eye level 370, and its rings unlock at HOA level 15, 26, 30, 34, and 38. Then on normal, the 5th ring, or the outer one, is 15, and then it's 29, then 32, then 35, with the final being 38. For Heroic, it is 15 for the outer one, 30 for the next one, then 34, then 38, and the final one is 42. And then finally for the Mythic players, the 5th ring is still level 15, the 4th is 31, the 3rd is 36, the 2nd is level 41, and the inner one is 46. And yeah, level 46 is pretty hardcore, but of course remember that most of the power is within those pretty accessible first 2 rings. Now, right now, HOA level 31 costs 10k AP. Most players should have that by the time the season launches. finishes, Artifact Knowledge does kick in again on the 22nd, so at that point, level 32 will cost 10k, I believe, and, you know, just every week after, like, it'll still cost 10k because the reduction of 30% will happen because of how Artifact Power works. So that means that you just want to choose kind of what curve line on the big graph that's up on the screen right now, which one are you comfortable with, and how much Heart of Azeroth, how much Artifact Power do you wish to farm each week, and what are you comfortable with? And really, what goal did you set for yourself? That just depends on you and your guild. Personally, I'm likely not going to farm Azerite specifically. I'll probably be a bit behind the curve, and I'll be happy to have Artifact Knowledge and that curve stay where it's maybe, you know, 6k AP for a level, and maybe just get 1 level a week. I would not recommend doing inordinate amounts of farming, because at the end of the day, 3 weeks of Artifact Knowledge catch-up will render that time pretty much wasted. Unless you're going for a world first, but hey, I doubt Method are watching this video. So for normal mode players, you'll be able to get HOA level 35 pretty damn easily if you don't have it already. I would not be too fussed about getting that, final expensive ring, to be honest. For the heroic players, it's HOA level 38 for the 2 trait rings. That's a little bit more, but a week or 2 of HOA grinding once Artifact Knowledge is in, that should be okay. I can't imagine that most guilds are going to be mega hardcore with their Heart of Azeroth requirements, and frankly, I think that most people would just get better performance by playing the game a little bit less and turning up to raids not feeling burnt out. So with that said, Artifact Power absolutely can be optimized. There is not much point in farming right now because Artifact Knowledge has been static since the release of 8.1, but with it kicking into gear with the beginning of Season 2, we can actually game the system. First, be sure to save your emissaries. What does this mean? Well, basically it means always entering reset day with a full stack of emissary quests to do, at least the AP ones. You see, completing them after the reset instead of completing them immediately when they spawn is a very wise move, because you'll literally be getting 30% more bang for your buck because of the Heart of Azeroth requirements being decreased by the Artifact Knowledge ticking up. And the same goes with other content. When doing your weekly islands, chances are you'll unlock a war table mission that will have a lot of Artifact Power on it. Now, if you complete that mission on, say, Saturday, then you won't benefit from Artifact Knowledge. But here's what you can do. You can turn in your standard island weekly quest just before reset day. Then you can complete the war table mission once it's on your board after the reset, which of course is after AK is kicked in. And doing this will mean that your AP gains will again the AP gains will hit after Artifact Knowledge is kicked in, which will increase their effectiveness by 30%, which is really important. Next, I want to do some funky maths. So the war table missions that reward Artifact Power, they typically cost 40 war resources and net about 450 to 550 AP. Now here's the thing, that AP will get you, 30% further for each level that Artifact Knowledge kicks in. And what this means is you can actually farm up all your war resources now and stockpile them, because if they are spent on AP rewarding missions after Artifact Knowledge kicks in, you'll get more bang for your buck. Now, to illustrate this, if you farm 1,000 war resources now and spend them now, then you'll get 1,000 war resources worth of AP. Okay, you literally can't do that because of the number of missions available, but bear with me for the example. Now, if you hold onto those war resources for 4 weeks until 3 levels of Artifact Knowledge have kicked in, then those war resources will effectively net you 2,197 war resources worth of AP instead of, the 1,000 if you had just spent them immediately. Basically, your war resources have a 30% weekly compound interest applied to their value in regards to their AP worth. It's a very exploitable system. Now, of course, that latter method, that is bottlenecked by the number of missions that you'll get. But for players who want to play lean, that's the way to do it. At the very least, it could be something that's good for preparing your alts for the future. Now, overall, the person who uses this well can have their time be like more than double its worth in some cases. And if I was to really boil that down, BFA is a play smart, not play hard expansion. Okay, so let's move on from Artifact Power to Titan Residuum. So, with Titan Residuum and Season 2, a few things are happening. Here's the deal. Season 1 Azerite gear is just going to be trash once Season 2 kicks in. Why is that? Well, Season 2 Azerite gear has an extra trait. And this means that your priority is just getting Season 2 Azerite gear ASAP, even if it means swapping your, Season 1 370 set for a Season 2 370 set. Now, to do this, I would recommend holding on to Residuum and doing a high Mythic Plus key every week, especially the week before Season 2 starts. That will get you enough Titan Residuum to purchase maybe 1 or 2 tokens that are, probably the same item level as the Azerite that you have, but of course, we'll have that extra trait. Now, do remember the Titan Residuum rewards and costs will increase like 10x once the patch comes out, so this is not mega effective, but it is something that you could use to ensure you enter the season with no Season 1 Azerite gear. Now, of course, I would recommend doing all the world bosses, Azerite emissaries, assaults, and all that stuff to try to get replacement Azerite gear first, and then to only spend Titan Residuum on a specific slot token once, you only have, say, 1 slot to fill with a bit of Season 2 gear. Past that, though, it's all run-of-the-mill. Stock up on resources, make sure you are leveled up with whatever crafting professions you value, especially if you want to use the new 385, 400, and 415 profession crafted gear. Do also note that 8.1 added Sanguicell primary stat and food and feast recipes, so that could be useful. The prices of herbs, potions, flasks, etc. will likely increase once the raid hits, so you want to get that stuff just stockpiled and sorted out now. Then finally, it's probably a decent idea to tighten up the roster of people that you play with or find new people to play with. Now that's hard for me because most of my friends are either playing alts casually or have quit, so I'm not actually sure what I'm going to do about Season 2 because I kind of do want to actually, engage with the content of the game. I want to sidestep the kind of annoying systems and actually have fun with the content because at the end of the day, WoW Dungeon's fun, WoW bosses are fun, I do want to actually enjoy those, so I need to find some people. That'll be a fun challenge for me, but overall, that is my thoughts on how you can prepare for Season 2 of Battle for Azeroth, including how you can just make the most out of the artifact power system and, have it have minimal impact on your life, or maybe if you're somebody who feels like they have to maintain multiple up-to-date characters, at least you can maybe do that war resources trick to, just make life a bit easier for you. So, thanks for watching this video, I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you next time.